All right, Chapter 3, Operator Troubleshooting. TM53805261110. Your grader 130 GS system. Troubleshooting introduction. Introduction: troubleshooting procedure for the group of the system contains the information needed to locate the malfunction. The troubleshooting system and the work package with the 10.00 that provide with a aid location for the manual malfunction for the system with the directed you for the appropriate troubleshooting of the WP001100. Troubleshooting contained the list of the malfunction test, the list instruction inspections here with the corrective action column. Further direct for the required corrective of the maintenance procedure with this man with the work package. However, the required with the maintenance for the procedure beyond with the operator level, the capability of the direction to notify the unit maintenance. Preliminary troubleshooting procedure. Note: the fluid leaks are classified in either Class 1, Class 2, or Class 3 leaks. Class 1, seepage of fluid indicate with the wetness of the discoloration not great enough to form the droplets. Class 2, liquid fluid greater enough to form droplets, but not a gauge the cover the droplets from it item being checked and inspected. Class 3, leakage of the fluid great enough to form droplets that fall from the item that being checked with the inspected. Before starting any specific troubleshooting, perform for the following visual check of all the hoses and tubes with the leakage. Check with the mechanical jumping the binding of the cover of the rocks or other form and shield. Check the fluids in subject area of the infill that is required of the work package 001300. Analyze the system with the condition to determine the most likely cause of the problem of the troubleshooting. The circle for more information for the concerning the problem, the easier for the will be the trouble to isolate the subsystem and indicate where there more than one subsystem is involved. Next, isolate the problem to single with the circle with the subsystem, then isolate the problem with the faulty component with the use of the trouble system in the work package 001000. Provide broken loose with the corroded wiring. The common source for the problem is in any electrical circuit that allows to make the visual inspection before starting with the detailed troubleshooting. Inspect the contacts ground carefully because the components for the case of the ground are especially troublesome. End of work package. All right, malfunction. Air system brakes. Parking emergency brake will not engage. Parking emergency brake will not release. Servo the brake does not correctly. Electrical system brake alarm will not sound with the machine is placed for the reverse brake. Blackout driver light will not operate with the BO. BO with the driver the function is selected. The reverse the servo the blackout light will not operate with the BO driver the function is sealed. Selected. Front worker inoperative the direction of the turn signal flash has if the control is not working. The horn will not sound when the buttons are operative. The headlight and the parking lights do not operate with the SC. Surface drive with the parking the functions are selected. The high beams do not come on. The stop lights do not operate with the brake level is present. The head tail lights do not come on. The windshield wiper is not working. If the quip the defroster will not working. If the quip the heater fan is not working. If the quip the electronic monitoring system faults indicated. The EMS control cooling temperature indicator flashing during the operation of the engine. Oil pressure indicator flashing during the operation of the brake press PSI indicator flashing during the operation. The hydraulic oil temperature flashes during the operation. The alternator indicator flashes during the operation. Engine fuel level indicator flashing during operation. The engine crank fails to operate with a temperature above 32 degrees Fahrenheit and operating temperature below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. It does not develop full power. Does not idle properly. Fails to crank when the switch of the turn starts but dies. Starts misfire. The runs throughout. Then after the warm up period, except for the exhaust smoke, they continue normal operation. Hydraulic system of the blade controls level of the volume with the blade drift after the control level of the relief and center the travel time of the blade lift cylinder excessively slow. Scare for the control lever binds and the travel time of the scare for the excessively slow. Alright, your steering. Machine. Steering exclusively slow with the intermediate of the response. Turn correctly with the owner in the normal condition. Turn slowly while grading. Turn slowly in both directions. Turn slowly in both one direction. Drift the either direction. One is pulled to one side of the level of the pavement. Even with the steering wheel is straight in position. Steering the erratic. The turning the steering wheel is difficult. Transmission a machine moves as in gear when shift the level to the neutral position. Slow and erratic transmission engagement. Transmission does not operate with any gear. Cannot be shifted out of the neutral. Does not shift the one gear to another. Engages the machine does not move the engine. Stop running it into worker package. Alright, a malfunction. Your engine cooling temperature will flash during the operation. Warning: do not serve the coolant unless the engine has been allowed to cool down. The pressure cooling system of them is escaped. The system coolant will cause severe burners. Do not remove the cooling system of the radiator cap with the engine hot. Allow the engine to cool down. Follow the following warning: may cause severe burns. Wear effective eye and glove and skin protection when handling the coolant. Failure to follow these warnings may cause the injury to the personnel. Check the flashing coolant temperature indicating cooling to operation. Reduce the load and continue with the monitoring temperature with the if indicator step. Still flashing, go to step 2. Allow the engine idle to 960 RPM for 5 to 10 minutes for the cool down. If the problem still exists, shut down and go to engine and the engine go to step 3. Check the radiator debris. Remove the debris if there's an excessive debris. Notify the maintenance. If there's no debris is present, go to step 4. Check the system for leaks. If the leaks are found, notify the unit of the maintenance. If no leaks are found, go to step 5. Check the coolant level. If the load low and add coolant. If the coolant level is okay, go to step 6. Check the water pump of the dry belt for loosen and damage. If the water pump of the dry belts are loose and the damage, notify the unit maintenance. If the belts are okay, go to step 7. Step 7. Check the oil level. If the engine oil level is low, fill the corrective level. If the problem still exists, go to step 8. Alright, engine coolant temperature indicator flashing light during the operation. Continue. Check the transmission oil level. If the transmission level is filled with the corrective level, if the level is okay, problem still exists, notify the unit's maintenance number. The engine EMS engine oil pressure indicator that flashes during the operation. Caution: when the engine oil is indicated flashing, then include the shutdown of the machine and required to prevent the damage of the machine. Check the engine oil. If the engine oil level is filled, the correct level. If the problem still exists, maintain. Notify the maintenance. EMS brake pressure. PSI indicator flashes during operation. Warning: the brake air pressure located in low indicator comes on. But bring the machine to safe stop. Failure to follow the warning may result in the injury. Ensure that the air tank drain of the valves are enclosed. Cover the drain valve if required. Problem exists. Go to step 2. Check the following air brakes for the air leak at the air tank hose with the fittings lining for the air and driver. If the leaks are present and the problem still exists, the unit notify the unit maintenance. The EMS hydraulic oil temperature indicator that flashes during the operation. Check the flashing hydraulic oil temperature indicator during the operation. Reduce the load and continue with the monitoring of the flash time. The temperature indicator is still flashing. Go to step 2. Allow the engine idle at 960 RPM for 5 to 10 minutes of the cooling. To cooling down. If the problem still exists, shut down the engine. Go to the test 3 to check the radiator for debris. Remove the debris. If there's excessive debris, notify the unit maintenance. If no debris is present, go to step 4. Check for the system leak. If the leaks are found, notify the unit maintenance. If no leaks are found, go to step 5. Check the hydraulic oil level. The work package 001300. If the low added hydraulic oil work package 001300. If the hydraulic oil level is okay, notify the unit maintenance level. The electric monitoring system and the alternator indicator flashes during the operation. The EM fault indicators continue. Check the battery for the cable for check the battery cable for the connection for the corrosion. If the corrosion present with the unit of the maintenance, if no corrosion is present, go to step 2. Check the battery cable connection for the screw for the connection for the correction for the loose. Notify the unit maintenance if the connection are not loose. Go to step 3. Check the alternator dry belt for the damage or 1/2 inch deflection midpoint of the belt on the longest segment. If the alternator dry belt has 1/2 the more deflection and is damaged, or notify a unit of the maintenance. If the belt is okay, go to step 4. If the inspect the wiring harness, ground connection, if the wiring harness fault is found, notify the unit maintenance. If the problem still exists, notify the maintenance. This shows the typical fan belly, 1/2 inch maximum transmission pulley with and the alternator pulley. The electric monitoring system fuel level, the indicator flashing during operation. Check the fuel level in the tank. Add the fuel necessary with the work package 001300. If the indicator is still flashing, notify the unit maintenance. Alright, parking, emergency brake light will not engage. Warning: if the parking the machine with the level of the ground, stop the engine, lower the blade to prevent personal injury to the opposition over the air, the damage of the machine. 1. Check for the foreign debris of the operation of the brake actuator. Check for the debris of the obstruction from the brake actuator. If the problem still exists, go to step 2. Raise the blade with the scaffold before moving the machine. Slowly try to move the machine forward and test the brakes if the gauge. If the problem still exists, go to step 3. Perform the air braking test. If the problem still exists, notify the unit maintenance. Parking brake emergency will not release. 1. Observe the air pressure for the air pressure must be between 60 psi in order for the release for the parking brake. If the air pressure is not above 60 psi, check and close the air drain valve. And if required problem still exists, go to step 2. Step 2. Check the air leak for the air tank with the hose with the fittings line for the air dryer. If any leaks are present, notify the unit maintenance. And if no leaks are found, go to step 3. No. Raise the blade and scare them before moving the machine. Slowly try to move the machine forward and test if the brakes are released. If the brakes is released. If the problem still exists, you notify the unit maintenance. Perform parking brake test. If the problem still exists, you notify the unit maintenance. Alright, so if the brakes do not operate correctly, warning: park the machine on the level of the ground, stop at the engine, lower the blade, prevent the injury operated with the surveyor, damage of the machine, check with the mud and the dirt operating with the brake pedal, check with the mud and dirt under the brake pedal, if the possible still exists, go to step 2, with the check of the air leak for the air tank with the hose, the fitting line for the air drive, with the tighten the air hose, if required problem still exists, go to step 3. Step 3, check for the air leak, the damage in the brake system, the components, if the problem still exists, the unit with the maintenance electrical system. Back up the alarm will not sound, but the machine is placed for the reserve image 1. Ensure the stop of the service drive function has been selected in one on military light switch. Select the stop light and the service drive. If the problem still exists, go to steps 2. Check the fuse panels. If the fuse is blown, request the replacement fuse for the unit maintenance. If the fuse is okay, problem still exists, notify the unit maintenance. Blackout with the drive with the light will not operate with the BO drive. The function is selected. Check the blackout drive with the light with the separate with the connection for the damage. Reconnect the reconnector. Anything required with the connector is okay. Go to step 2. To remove the cover and check the bulb with the discolor for the broken element. If the bulb is unserviceable, replace the replacement with the unit maintenance. 3. Rear surface blackout lights will not operate with the BO drive function that's selected. 1. Check with the rear surface of the blackout lights to separate with the connection or damage. Reconnect with the connectors. If the required with the connectors are okay, go to the next step. Move the cover and check valve with the discolorization broken element. If the bulb is unserviceable, request the replacement for the unit maintenance. Alright, electric system continued. Front working lights inoperative. Ensure the stop light and surface drive function has been selected for the military light switch. Select the stop light and surface drive. If the problem still exists, go to step 2. Check the blown flower for blown fuse for the fuse panel. If the fuse is blown, request for the replacement fuse from the unit maintenance. If the fuse is okay, go to the step 3. Check the light with the separate with the connection with the good. Damage, reconnect the connector. If the required with the connector is okay, notify the unit maintenance. Direction of the turn signal hazard flasher control is not working. Ensure the stop light with the surface direction function has been selected for the military light on switch. So select the stop light, surface driver. If the problem still exists, go to step 2. Check the field for a blown fuse within the panel. If the fuse blown is request the replacement for the unit of the maintenance. If the fuse is okay, to go to step 3. Check the lights and separate it with the connection for the damage. Reconnect with the required for the damage of the lights found. Notify the unit maintenance for the connector's lights are okay. Notify the unit maintenance here. The horn will not sound when the buttons are pressed. Ensure the stop of the surface driver the function has been selected for the military light switch. And select the stop light with the surface driver if problems will still exist. To go to step 2. Check for blown fuse for the fuse panel. If the fuse is blown, request the replacement from the unit maintenance and the fuse is okay. Problem exists. Go to step 3. Check the horn for separated connection or damages. Reconnect the connectors required. If the connector is okay, notify the unit maintenance. Electrical system continued. Headlights, the parking lights do not operate with the surface drive of the park functions are selected. The unit and service drive in the park function that has been selected on the military light switch. Select the service drive in the park. If the problem still exists, go to test. Step 2. Check the lights and the disconnected damage connections or damage. Reconnect the connectors if required. If the damaged lights are found, notify the unit maintenance. If the connectors are light and the lights are okay, to notify the unit maintenance. Alright, high beams do not come on. Ensure the surface drive of the park function has been selected on the military light switch. Select the selector drive of the park problem still exists. Go to step 2. Warning. Park the machine on the level of the ground. Stop the engine. Lower the blades to prevent injury. Operate with the surface damage of the machine. 2. Check the mud and dirt running around with the high beam switch. Check the mud and dirt from the high beam switch. If the problem still exists, notify the unit maintenance. And stop. Do not operate when the brakes pedal is depressed. Ensure the stop light surface drive function has been selected for the military light switch. Select the stop light and surface drive of the functions for going through the step 2. Step 2. Check the lights of disconnection with the disconnected the connections are damaged. Reconnect the connectors if required. If any of the damaged lights are found, notify the unit maintenance. Tail lights do not come on. Ensure the selector drive of the function that has been selected in the military light switch. And so select the selector driver that possible still exists. Go to step 2. Check the lights and disconnected connections are damaged. Reconnect the connectors required for the problem still exists. Notify the unit maintenance. Windshield wiper not working. If equipped, check the fuses and the fuse panel work package 001500. If the fuse placement is replacement with the unit maintenance, if the fuse is okay, then notify the unit maintenance. Alright, your electrical system continues. Defroster fan will not working. If equipped, check the blown fuse and the work package 001500 with the fuse between blown. Request for the replacement fuse with the unit maintenance. If the fuse is okay, problem still exists. Go to step 2. Step 2. Check the fan with the disconnect electrical connector. Reconnect the electrical connector. If the required problem still exists, notify the unit maintenance. 13. Heater fan not working. If the quick check for the broken fuse with the fuse panel work package 001500. If the fuse is blown, request for the replacement with the unit maintenance. If the fuse is okay, notify the mutants. Maintenance. Engine crank split fails to start with the operating temperature above 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And warning, do not perform the fuel system check with the inspection manual while the smoking in the airframe flames. If the spark fuel may ignite cause damage to the machine, injury of the death of the personnel. Operating personnel must wear the fuel resistant gloves when handling fuel if exposed with the fuel and properly with wash exposed and chained with the fuel soaked clothing. Check the fuel level, fluid level of the fuel tank dipstick. If the indication is empty, add fuel. If the fuel level is okay, notify the unit maintenance. Engine cranks must stop to start for the operating temperature below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Engine continue. Do not perform fuel system check with the inspection manual while smoking and near the fuel flames or fire or sparks. Fuel may ignite with causing damage to the machine with injury or death of the personnel. Operating the personnel must wear fuel-resistant gloves with the handles. If exposed with the fuel, properly wash the exposed skin with the chain of the clothing. Check the fuel level to use the fuel tank dipstick. If the indication is empty, add fuel. If the fuel level is okay, to go to step 2. Note. Every 30 seconds for the engine cranking, allow the 2 minutes for the after starter cooler to cool down. Wait while the chain cranking the engine, press the either start, add switch wait with approximately 2 seconds between the inspection. If the engine still will not start, notify the unit maintenance. The engine does not develop the full power. Check the air filter surface indicator. If the indicator is red with the surface air filter and reset, the problem still exists. Notify the unit maintenance. Engine does not idle properly. Check the air filter surface indicator. If the surface indicator is red, the surface air filter and retest. If the problem is reset, the problem still exists. Notify the unit maintenance. Engine continued. Engine fails to crank when starting the switch is turned to start. Note, ensure the accelerator pedal is not in the opposition. Check the position of the battery disconnect switch. If the battery disconnect switch is in the opposition, the problem still exists. Go to step 2. Check the position of the transmission shift lever. The transmission shift lever is in neutral. If the problem still exists, go to step 3. Note, 30 minutes of the cool down time may be required before circuit breaker can be reset. Check the main circuit of the breakers are not tripped. The work package 0400. Reset the circuit breaker if the problem still exists. Go to step 4. Check the dirty, loose, and damaged brake cable to check the clean, dirty brake cable to the loose connection. If the cable to that, notify the unit's maintenance. Our engine starts but dies. Check the water in the fuel system and notify the unit's maintenance. Engine starts but misfires runs from enough for the after warming period. Check the water in the fuel system, notify the maintenance. Accept the engine oil consumption. Check for the loose oil lines and leaks. If the oil lines are loose and leaks are found, notify the unit maintenance. Excessive exhaust smoke at the normal operation temperature. Check the air filter surface indicator. The indicator is red. Surface the air filter retest if the problem still exists. Go to step 2. Check the engine oil level. The oil level is above fuel. Notify the unit maintenance. Hydraulic system. Note: if you're equipped with the blade float and the blade float is on, blade lifter control will not operate. Blade control lever binds. When the check on the bent and damaged lever, if the lever is bent and damaged, notify the unit maintenance. If the lever is okay, go to step 2. Check the control linkage. The damaged debris would be restricted from the movement of the automatic return to the hold position. Cleaning debris from the linkage. If any of the damage is found, notify the unit maintenance. 2. Blade drifts are after the control level the release and center. Check the brake hydraulic cylinder for the damage. If any of the damage is found, notify the unit maintenance. If the damage is found, the problem still exists. Go to step 2. Check the control link of the damage of the debris that would be found. Restrict the freedom of the movement. Automatic return to the holding position. Clean the debris. If any damage is found, notify the units. Travel time of the blade lift cylinder is excessively slow. 1. Check the brake blade hydraulic lift cylinder. If they are any of the buildups, debris, cleaning the debris from the cylinder, but the problem still exists. Go to step 2. Check for the hydraulic oil. If the hydraulic oil level is low, fill the correctly with work package 001300. If the problem still exists, go to step 3. Check the control leakage of debris, damage the debris with a restricted freedom with the movement and automatic return from the hold position. Cleaning the debris from the leakage. If any of the damage is found, notify the unit maintenance. Safety control, scare for controller level the binds. Check for the damage or bent or damaged lever. If the lever is bent or damaged, notify the unit maintenance. If the lever is okay, go to step 2. Check for the control lever of the damaged debris that would be restricted the freedom of the movement and automatic return to the hold position. Cleaning the debris from the linkage. Any damage is found, notify the unit maintenance. Travel time for the scare is excessively slow. Check with the scare for any of the buildup of the debris. Check with the debris with the scare for the problem that still exists. Go to step 2. Check the hydraulic oil level. The hydraulic oil level low. Fill the correct level of the work package 001300. If the problem still exists, go to step 3. Check the control link of the damage of the debris that would be restrict the freedom of the movement of the automatic return to the hold position. Cleaning the debris if the link of the damage is found, notify the unit maintenance. Alright, steering. Machine steering excessively slow and intermittent to respond. Warning, hitching in the steering of the movement can reduce clearance. Clearance is suddenly and cause the injury. The person will stop the engine before servicing. Check hydraulic oil level. The oil level is slow. Low, fill the level, correct oil level. The oil level is okay to notify the unit maintenance. Machine turns correctly during the normal driving conditions, but turns slowly while grading. Check the steering of the oil leaks. If the oil leaks are found, notify the unit maintenance. If the oil leaks are found, go to step 2. Check hydraulic oil level. If the hydraulic oil level is filled with the correct level. If the valve still exists, notify the maintenance. Machine turns slowly in both directions. Check the hydraulic oil level. The oil level is low. Fill the correct level. If the oil level is okay, notify the unit maintenance. Machine turns slowly in one direction. Check the oil level leaks in the steering cylinder. If the oil leaks are found, notify the unit maintenance. If no leaks are found, go to step 2. Check the hydraulic oil level is low. Fill the correct level. If the problem still exists, notify the unit maintenance. Machine drifts either direction. One is pulls on one side of the level of the pavement, even with the steering wheel is in the straight position. Check the tire pressure, tires for proper pressure. Inflate the tires for the proper pressure if the problem still exists. Go to step 2. The 2 possible linkage to hydraulic components of the malfunction. Notify the unit maintenance. Steering at erratic. Check the hydraulic oil level. The oil level is full. Fill the correct level. The oil level is okay. Problem still exists. Notify the unit maintenance. Turning the seal wheel. The oil is too cold. The operating machine is normal. The operating temperature is read. If the problem still exists, go to the test step 2. Check the hydraulic oil level. The oil level is filled with the correct level. The oil level is okay. Notify the unit maintenance. Alright, your transmission. Machine moves into the gear when shift level is in normal neutral position. Shut down the engine. Move the shift lever through all forward gears and all reverse gears. Start the engine if the problem exists. Notify the unit maintenance. Slow erratic transition engagement. Before checking the oil level, ensure the machine is parked on level ground and braking the apply the transmission to neutral. Oil warm and engine level. Oil warm engine low idle blade lowered and slight down pressure applied. Check the transmission oil level. Transmission oil level to fill the correct level if the problem still exists. Unit with the maintenance. Your transmission does not operate any of the gear. Before check the oil level to ensure the machine is parked on level ground. Parking brake at the blade. Transmission is neutral, oil warm, and the engine low idle blade lowered and the slight downward pressure applied. Check the transmission oil level. The transmission oil level fill the correct level of the work package 001300. Problem still exists. Notify unit maintenance. 4. Transmission cannot be shifted out of the neutral. Check position of the parking emergency brake lever to disengage the parking emergency brake lever if required. If the problem still exists, notify the unit maintenance member. 5. Transmission does not shift on one gear to another. Check the transmission oil level. The transmission oil level to fill the correct level. If the problem still exists, go to step 2. To control the linkage out of the adjustment, notify the unit maintenance. Step the transmission gave the machine does not move. Engage the stop. Engine stops running. Possible internal failure, notify the unit maintenance manual. Alright, chapter 4. Operator maintenance instructions.